So I shall start us off.
Take it away, DJ.
Hello, everyone. This is Raphael.
And I'm Lauren.
We're the Pacheco siblings, and welcome to the Hypercube podcast, a talk show where two siblings converse about anything and everything. We are joined today by an amazing guest. Keiko is a voice director, voiceover coach, audio engineer, podcaster, writer, illustrator, and all-around producer, as well as the founder of MLA Entertainment. And she's currently writing, directing, and producing the upcoming original audio drama, Cerulean Summer. Keiko, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
100%.
Hey, nice to have you.
Yeah, I've been really excited about this conversation and looking forward to it. You are currently working on your audio drama, as we mentioned in the intro, and you were able to give us a exclusive sneak preview of the first episode, as well as some other kind of press release materials. That was actually really interesting. Lauren and I both got to listen to it, and I think we both had a lot of thoughts. We were actually both in a call prior to starting this recording, and Lauren had just finished listening to it, and so we were kind of going over first impressions. But I'm kind of curious.
Taking it all in.
Yes, very much so. So I'm kind of curious, what sort of inspired you to do this kind of sentimental coming of age type of story for an audio drama?
Oh, that is a good question. Well, this is actually a story I've had like in my mind and in my heart for many years. I first came up with it back in 2019, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. And back then it was going to be a comic. I still have the page layouts in a little notebook. And so, but I had to put it on the back burner. Yeah, because I'm a comic artist as well. So I thought that would be a great medium to tell this story at first. But then I just had to put it on the back burner because I got busy with another series. And but I finished that other project, and I was just kind of looking for a new way to tell my stories, because the medium I'd been using up till then was kind of labor intensive. It was this weird hybrid of animation and live action work as well. And it just took a lot of time. It was very uncomfortable, just physically, the positions I had to get in to get the animation done. And so I was looking for a new way to tell my stories. And I actually ran across an audio drama, also known as a fictional podcast, called Girl in Space. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's by Sarah Ray Werner, and it is fantastic.
No, I'm not familiar.
You should check it out.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that as well.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi show. Yeah, it's really cool. And it was just so impactful. Like, it just kind of opened my eyes to how powerful storytelling can be through an audio format. Because up till then, I was kind of foolish. I thought, to me, the ultimate way to tell a story is through a visual medium. That's just what I foolishly thought. And then I heard this show, and I was like, okay, this was so powerful. It was kind of arguably one of the most powerful forms of storytelling, because it's super intimate, super personal, because it stimulates all of your senses and it forces your imagination to take control. So I listened to that show, was super inspired, and I was like, okay, I think this is what I've been looking for. This is the medium that I want to tell my stories through from now on, aside from comics. So this old story, Cerulean Summer, that I put away in a box in the background, I was like, this is the one I want to pull out for my first audio drama. So yeah, it's just a very heartwarming story. I don't really know anything in particular inspired it. I do think that I am kind of paying tribute to my grandparents in a way, who have passed, unfortunately. But there are some grandparents in this show that are very much inspired by my real life grandparents. So it's kind of a tribute to them.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's just telling a story. Yeah.
Wow, that's very sweet.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, just talking in terms of mediums. I think I kind of relate to you being the same boat of being multimedia storytellers. And Lauren and I were actually just talking earlier about like how we just are like the process of discerning what medium any particular story belongs to when you are a multimedia storyteller, right, is its own whole challenge, because when you've got so many different ways that you can express yourself, it then has to become a deliberate choice. Like, okay, which medium does this story belong to? And it's interesting to hear about how you arrived at audio dramas. I will say, like, even just listening to your first episode for Cerulean Summer very much inspired me as well, because it did remind me, just listening to it, kind of what that other podcast did for you, is like it reminded me of what the power of an audio-based medium can do for storytelling. And because when I was listening to it, I was just immersed, and I was like, yeah, this reminds me of what you can do with this format. And honestly, it just made me want to do my own, because I've had some like ideas for audio dramas on the back burner that I was just like, by the time I was done listening to it.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. That is awesome. You should do it.
100%.
That's something I love about you guys. Your slogan's basically like storytelling through any medium necessary, just whatever it takes. Get the stories out there. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're all about that. And so, that very much left me inspired in that regard. But yeah, with the particularities of this story, like it felt to me, I think the word like I arrived at is it's kind of cozy in a sense. Cerulean Summer, like it feels like very cozy, like very, very warm and vibrant in its visual tone, especially with a lot of the visuals that you created for it. Like there is something that feels kind of chill and cozy about it, where it's like you can kind of relax to it, or like, I could see myself unwinding or listening to it on a long drive kind of thing. And at the same time, it does tackle some like serious topics, but it feels like it doesn't do so in a way that breaks that.
It's traumatizing.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. Like it doesn't approach it in a very dark way.
It's not jarring.
Yeah, it's not jarring. It doesn't break that lightness that it has. It's like that's such a interesting tightrope to walk on from like a writing perspective. I'm very curious how did you navigate that, balancing that?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for saying that. That was a big goal of mine. I really wanted this show to be almost like a safe place for people. It's like a lot of people tell you, go to your happy place. It's like, what is your happy place? Well, I feel like the town of Cerulean, where the story takes place, it kind of is a happy place because it's summer forever in this show. It takes place during the summertime. So I think that we all associate summertime with kind of nostalgia and cozy memories of just the carefree days of childhood. So I definitely wanted to create a really immersive world that just kind of was a feast for the senses. So you could really feel like you could hear the birds, you could hear the ocean waves, you were there. So absolutely, that was very important. Now, what was your most recent question again?
Well, I was just curious about that.
I went off on a tangent.
No, you're good. That's honestly what so much of the Hypercube podcast is tangents. So you're right at home.
I'm living for it.
But yeah, I was just curious about the tightrope of balancing that lightness with the kind of some of the more serious topics that are also addressed in the show. Yeah,
that is very much my favorite style of storytelling. I'm very much influenced by works from Studio Ghibli and Key Visual Arts. I don't know if you're familiar with those people, but I love shows that have everything in it, but it's still safe for everyone to watch. So I don't believe in dumbing down a story for any audience or overdoing it either. I think you can have everything in a show for all ages, but it not be dumbed down or overdone. And so it's definitely a story for everyone. It's got everything in it, but like you said, it never kind of takes it too far either. So yeah, I think there's something in it for everyone.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm just very inspired by Studio Ghibli in particular. If you've seen any of their 100%. Films, I think you'll see some of the influence.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Ghibli influences. Like it does have that kind of vibe of sentimentality and nostalgia that I feel like defines a lot of like Miyazaki's work through Ghibli. And it's like, it's definitely all there, but with a very kind of more, I guess, Western lens in this case. So and I was also thinking beforehand as well, because I don't know. I mean, if you're anywhere near the same age range as us, then like the early 2000s would be like our upbringing, And so setting it during that time period also kind of has like this element of nostalgia for me, when I'm like listening to it, I'm like, yeah, it kind of has that kind of childlike coming of age feel for my generation was that era, the early 2000s. And, and
it was a more simple time because everyone didn't have these smartphones in their pockets and streaming, all that. So definitely you'll notice, I mean, there aren't cell phones in this show. Right. So that alone is strange.
There was a moment where I was listening to it. I'm just like, why don't you just call somebody? Oh, yeah, right. Of course, there's no phones.
It's weird, isn't it? You forget it sometimes when you listen to shows that take place in a previous decade. It's like, oh, they could get away with this or that because, we don't have certain science yet.
Right.
And technology.
Yeah. That's the thing that always kind of weirds me out with, like, one of my favorite shows, Breaking Bad. That show takes place over a pretty short span of time, but the show was released over the course of several years. And during those several years is when the smartphone boom kind of first happened. And so when the show first started airing, like there was like no smartphones. By the time the show finished airing, smartphones were everywhere, but the characters were still stuck in like a pre-smartphone world. It's a really bizarre detail about that show. That's
I love that.
Yeah, kind of a weird sort of meta thing about it. But I mean, it's kind of weird how it kind of inadvertently becomes a plot point, like you were saying, Lauren, of anything that's set in a period pre the smartphone era, like you have to, or any like cell phone era, if you want to go that far back, it's something you always have to keep in mind because it kind of does dictate a lot of plot points oftentimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's helpful too. It's actually helpful because especially if you're writing like a crime mystery or something like that, it's really hard to write one of those in a modern setting because
oh my gosh,
you can't get away with anything.
Right.
Whereas if it takes place a long time ago, it's like, they can't be traced.
Can I just, sorry, small
tangents are welcome. I went on one myself.
As a role player, D&D player, or whatever, there are so many times, or there's like doing like a modern role play where your characters are modern players or modern people. And anytime a situation pops up where it's like, oh, something has happened, they immediately go, all right, I search Google for an answer. It's like, no, that's your job. You're supposed to go out and do it. It's just immediate first reaction is just like, oh, this is something that's happened. I go on a search engine. I look up a YouTube video. It's like, I now know this thing because I have the entirety of the human history in the palm of my hand now.
Yes, Lauren, that is such a good point. Same thing with gaming. I mean, back in the day, people had to go to the store and buy these walkthrough books, and it was so holy. Whereas now you can just Google it. What do I do next?
Yeah. And it's like, it's really hard to have a sense of like urgency when you can just sit back and just find whatever you need from the comfort and safety of your own home or wherever it is. And it's like, especially like when writing for role-playing games or anything like that, it's like, how do you circumvent that? Well, easy. You just go to a time when those didn't exist.
There you go. I like how you think.
Yeah, just set it back in the early 2000s, or just playing a medieval D&D fantasy setting. Easy, no problem.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
For sure. Yeah, I find there's like an affinity for period now in the way that it solves a lot of narrative issues that I feel like that affinity didn't quite exist as strongly before.
True. Yeah, it's totally different because I'm writing a sci-fi series at the same time.
Oh, man.
And it's kind of a whole different set of problems. It's a lot more, you have to really think about everything.
Yeah, so. I feel like to that note, like it feels like, it does solve a lot of problems being able to get rid of the phone issue. But I feel like the opposite extreme is like you were saying, like if you're doing like a crime genre or something like that, to set in the modern day, it feels like you kind of have to lean into more of those technological elements in order to make it believable.
Yeah.
Because it's like essentially all modern thrillers have to be a cyber thriller at a certain point, just because of the world we live in.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like, I'm not smart enough for this. I've got to make it take place back in the
day. Yeah, it's definitely a lot to consider. Sorry, I was getting back on the topic of Cerulean Summer. I was very curious, so if we could get into like technical production details as we want to do on the show. The cast, great cast. love their voices. How did you go about the casting process? Was it like an open call, or were these people like that you just know within your network and you search through there?
Yeah, it was an open public casting call. Some of the people I actually did know personally. Some are even my students, but I still just opened
Nice.
public auditions. I was completely open-minded. I really didn't have anyone in mind. And we received over, I think it was almost 400 or over 400 auditions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
It was pretty crazy. Yeah, it was wonderful. We got auditions from all over the world, and they were all excellent. And a lot of the times, even when I'm holding public auditions, if I'm not hearing the type of voice I'm looking for, I'll kind of, put on my hunting goggles or whatever, and I'll go into the wild looking for an actor myself.
Right.
So I actually did that with a couple of the characters, including the main character, Minnie.
Oh, wow.
Because I was I received amazing auditions, performance-wise, but I just wasn't hearing the vocal tone I was looking for. I'm very specific when it comes to how I imagine my characters would sound.
Mm.
So I was looking for someone who kind of sounded similar to like Jennifer Hale in Totally Spies, and Stephanie Morgenstern she voices Regina in Dino Crisis for some PS1 gamers out there. But turns out I was looking for a very specific voice type. It's really hard to find. And purely by accident one day, when I was studying on audio dramas, trying to learn all I could about this new medium, I found an interview with Melissa Del Toro Schaffner, who voices Minnie. She was talking about a podcast that she's on. And I was just like, wait up. I think this might be the person. So I reached out to her and asked her to audition, and the rest is history.
Wow. That's amazing. Awesome. You got to love when those kind of chance encounters fall into your lap like that.
Yeah, I know. It's so nice when you don't have to really try hard to find it. It just falls into your lap. Like I wasn't even looking for that, actor at the moment. I was just listening to podcasts and interviews, and there she came.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. Yeah, and that was the thing I was curious about too, because you were talking about how you didn't really, you went in open-minded. You didn't have anyone in mind for any of these roles.
Yes.
Because I know because I think historically I've done more open calls. But I think lately, I've kind of been embracing the idea more of like keeping actors in mind, and like even like writing to certain performers, because that's cool. That's just not something I've done yet. And I hear about other like writers and filmmakers who have done that. And I hear from actors as well, like actors love that stuff, They're just like, I was at a film festival recently where a moderator for one of the Q&As, she was also an actress, and she was interviewing an actor for whom his role was written for him in the film. And she was like pointing that out. It's like, yeah, if you meet actors that you love working with and that you pretty much know you're going to cast in the next thing that you work on, like consider writing a role for them, because they'll gobble that stuff up. Like that's like the biggest honor you could bestow upon them.
Yeah, that is one of the highest honors you can receive as an actor. And some people have rosters. Like there's a lot of acting rosters that people get on. So sometimes people are only looking within their roster when they're casting. So that is true.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's actually really cool to hear that process. And I also I've got to ask, was the entire cast, were these paid roles?
That's the thing about this. This is, at this point, purely a passion project, believe it or not. Everyone, including myself, we are all really doing this. Yeah, we're all coming together for this. The composer, me, the voice cast. Wow. This is just a work of pure love.
That's actually extraordinary. Yeah. Like for the level of talent they have on board on this.
Yeah. I was just saying, it's such an honor. And I do think that's really important too, because as creatives, we have our work, obviously, where we're doing it to, live and pay the bills and make a living. But I do think it's also important to always make sure that we are exercising our creativity in some way, just purely for passion and for fun. I think that really helps keep that innocent spirit alive, why we started to do it in the first place. So I kind of always make sure I'm doing something creatively just out of pure passion, along with, all my commissioned work as well. I think that's a healthy thing to do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's really awesome.
Yeah, and there will be IMDb credit as well. And we're doing lots of promotion so I can help spread the word about some of these very talented creatives that are collaborating with me on this. So
yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, and it's also kind of a reminder that there are like more than one form of payment. Like even just having an IMDb credit, to add to your list is like still a big deal. Like that is something that is beneficial, and just like one small thing that creators and producers can do for people that like helps them out, that genuinely does add to their employability. Yeah, and I was like going to ask as well, you're talking about the composer, knowing that the composer was also volunteering is also extraordinary, because you got a composer who has some pretty impressive titles under his belt, at least being in their music department. And so how did he come on board?
Jeffrey Penn Johnson. Yeah, he has worked on Spider-Man, Ben 10, Robot Chicken, whole lots of incredible shows. And he's actually the very first person I reached out to create music. Really? And I just got so fortunate that he said yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I was listening to a lot of different composers' demos, samples of their work, because like I am with everything, I usually have a very particular sound in mind. And the soundtrack for Cerulean Summer, I knew the exact sound I was looking for. I'd kind of prepared a whole library of example tracks for the composer. That way, when they were on board, I would say, okay, we need a song that's got this sort of instrumentation, these kinds of feelings and melodies, go for it.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to all these different samples and demos, and just Jeffrey's demo jumped out to me because he had a very wide range of sounds and instruments. Like a lot of composers kind of have a single sound. It's like, okay, so these are the main instruments they tend to work with. But Jeffrey was just very dynamic. Very cohesive, but very dynamic. And so I knew that he would definitely be able to do some of the unique sounds that I wanted for this show. So I messaged him and I gave him some information about the project, shared some artwork with him, because there will be a visual version for those who prefer visual storytelling. And he was so kind and said he's down. And we had a wonderful conversation about the show, and it was really fun. It was like, birthday presents all the time when he would send in new music. It was so exciting.
Oh yeah, that's always a good feeling. That's interesting, because he kind of got into that. Like there is a very particular sound to this audio drama. Like the music definitely evokes a certain vibe. It's not like like generic score, background soundtrack. It's kind of it's evoking a very particular set of feelings. It feels very targeted and very specific. So it's kind of interesting.
Kind of, again, nostalgia.
Yeah.
Very relaxed.
Yeah.
Very relaxed.
I think a
little bit of 80s touch in there too, in a way.
Yeah, in a sense. Yeah, and it does hit those kind of nostalgic notes.
I remember hearing at one point there was like this really nice little bass line that was in the background of something, and I was like, I was just jamming out to that.
Right?
I know, right? Jeffrey doesn't play around with his bass lines. I feel you.
Yeah, and like with the acoustic guitar like thrown in there as well, again, kind of has this very organic feel about it. It also just kind of felt, as someone who grew up on the coast, the West Coast in this particular case, I don't know, there was something about it that just felt like the sound of the coast to me. I don't know how else to describe it.
I am so happy to hear you say that, because when I was first talking with Jeffrey about the sound I was looking for, I think that was one of the main descriptive words that I gave him, is I wanted the music to sound like summer. Yeah,
like there's something about it that just felt like summer. It felt like the beach. It felt like, the smell of salt water and the seagulls flying overhead and hearing them galling.
Yes.
Like somehow the music managed to evoke all of those memories in me.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. Yeah, he nailed it. That's probably one of the main key words if I were to describe the show, is nostalgia, friendship, a little bit of mystery, because there actually is a big supernatural element that will come in the second episode that I think is going to shock a lot of people. So leaning into that Studio Ghibli inspiration once again.
Yeah, which is very fascinating. It feels like there's little nuggets of it, I feel like, of hints in the first episode
Yeah.
that Lauren and I were definitely, it prompted some discussion between us. We're just like, there's something going on there. And that was, I think, about as far as we
got. Did you notice that? That was a little odd.
Yeah. There's definitely some oddities. But I love the subtlety. it wasn't very heavy-handed, and so like it just felt like little breadcrumbs where I'm just like, I feel like there's gonna be more there.
Yeah, I love leaving it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So you tune in next time.
I totally forgot to ask if this was permissible, but I will admit, I was listening to the preview episode in my living room, and so like my wife was around, and so she was able to like listen in as well. And like when it got to the cliffhanger ending, she was just like, "What? That's it? Where's the next one?"
Yeah. I had that same thought. I was just like, you can't just whisk us into the next scene and then stop it.
Yeah, it was so.
I'm trolling the listeners.
Yes, it was so effective of a cliffhanger. My wife was distraught, but you definitely gained a listener.
Very offended. Oh, I'm so happy to hear it. Yeah, we've actually recorded the next episode, so
Ooh, awesome.
It will hopefully be following the first episode not too long after it premieres.
Okay. So you kind of moving like one episode at a time in terms of production?
Yeah, because a lot of people record all the episodes ahead of time. And I've done that before with certain projects. But with this one, I just really wanted to get it out there. You know, I'd held it in for so long.
Yeah.
I wanted to get that first episode out there and just follow up each episode as quickly as I can. So yeah, production's moving. The first episode will premiere on September 25th. And we're already mixing the second episode.
Ooh.
So very exciting.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, I think that's the first I've heard of the actual firm release date. So September 25th, that's when we could look forward to this being out there.
Breaking news, everybody. Exclusive on the Hypercube podcast.
Oh, awesome. I think that's the first exclusive we got.
Yes. What better place?
I love it. Well, I'm very excited and looking forward to hearing more of this series. I'll definitely be listening along just for my own personal curiosity because I've been hooked from this first episode. And yeah, I mean, and just everything, like everything about it, the production, you know, the mixing, the engineering, like it's just got that kind of audio quality that just tickles my earbuds. And I love it. I just love the way I love the way the mix sounds. I was gonna say there are a few things that are just more satisfying than just a really good mix. Like there's something about it that just
it's real crisp.
Chef's kiss.
Yes, chef's kiss. Mwah. Yes, well said. Yeah, I love taking advantage of the whole binaural quality, you know, the left and right side of your headphones. So it really feels like you're there if you close your eyes. 100%.
Yeah, that does so much for immersion. And it's just one thing, just one small thing too. Like if I were to like give advice to aspiring, you know, sound editors or audio engineers, like it's just one small thing that you can do that just adds so much more dimension to whatever you're working on. Like you don't even need to do a lot of it. Just throwing a little bit of that element in there of just keeping in mind the space of it from left to right.
Directional audio. Yeah.
Like it works wonders.
Exactly. Yeah. Even when I'm working on demo reels, I really like to throw little Easter eggs like that in there. Like there's the main voice talent, of course, who's in the front and center. But sometimes if there's someone off to the side, like cheering or something, it just keeps the mix really interesting. It perks your ears up as the listener.
For sure.
Or if the character throws something and you hear it crash on the right side of your headphones, it's like, well, they threw that real far.
Yeah, like you could hear the throw initiating on the left side and crashing on the right side.
Exactly. You get it.
Yeah, 100%. Well, oh my goodness, I could geek out a lot about the mixing and the audio engineering, but I don't know if that's what our audience wants to hear. But I definitely would love to deep dive more on that. But that being said, I do think we do need to move on to other topics. But that'd just be from my own personal satisfaction.
That's funny. Yeah, like we'll get together later. We'll talk all about it. We can geek out together.
Completely.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you also have your own podcast as well. And kind of in a similar vein, you talk to a lot of interesting guests, have a lot of interesting conversations. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I was kind of curious about what your sort of podcasting process is like, and because you have a wide range of guests as well. Some people who are like, pretty renowned industry people. What's that process look like for you, in terms of, acquiring your guests and onboarding them and kind of going through that process?
Yeah, I love it. It's the Keiko's Diary podcast. We've got 2 seasons out right now. Hoping to do a 3rd one maybe next year. Fingers crossed if the timing works out. But yeah, I love that show because it just it puts a spotlight on the people behind the art that we love. So I have composers, like I have Emmy-winning composers on there. I've got anime voice actors. Got William Moseley from the Narnia films, but I've also got up and coming creatives. Some people who are just beginning to hone their craft. So it's a lot of different perspectives, and I just kind of love getting to know what makes people tick, what inspires them, and what their favorite part of their craft is. So it's really fun. We've got games, like timed games, where we kind of ask rapid fire questions. Ooh. It's like, what's your favorite this? What would you prefer, this or that? And then we've also got some of the slower segments where we delve into fan favorite things, like what was it like working on this or that sort of thing. So yeah, I really enjoy it. Sometimes I know the person personally, and sometimes I arrange it with their team. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but I really love it. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Oh, well, that's really awesome. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to have another podcaster on the podcast as well. I feel like that's...
Oh, is this a first?
I don't know if it's a first, but it's definitely not common, I feel like, among our guests. So I definitely wanted to make sure I asked about that because, yeah, that's very fascinating. I think we've had guests that have gone on to become podcasters after being on our show.
Oh, you inspired them.
Possibly. It's quite possible.
Take the credit.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take what I can
totally
get. Well, yeah, that's really cool. I definitely recommend the Keiko's Diary podcast. It's if you like the kind of conversations we have on here as well, like similar sort of thing. You can listen to a lot of different creatives from a lot of different parts of the industry on that podcast. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, your reach and your network is actually really impressive. I'd heard of you before, like you'd even reached out to us about being on this podcast. So like, yeah, it's really cool the kind of people that you could get access to on that show. And even so, like I said, we have a lot of overlap in our networks as well. Like you were talking earlier, like anime voice actors that you were able to interview on your show. I think one of our biggest connections was through Dakota Farnsworth. He always speaks very highly of you, and I know you're very instrumental early in his voiceover career, and now he's all the way up in Crunchyroll. So it's like,
yeah, he's killing it. It's awesome. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah. So your students have done some awesome things, and I would love to hear more about, I guess, what you're kind of like as a teacher, because you do voice coaching, that is like voiceover coaching. That's like one of your big services, and as well as demo reel production and things like that. So it's like, yeah, what is that like? How do you teach? What's that process like and that schedule like? Because I know you stay quite busy with it from what I hear.
I do. Yeah, I basically do it full time. Whenever I'm not working on passion projects like Cerulean Summer or other commission work like writing scripts for people, things like that. I'm always coaching people and mixing their demos. It's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done, truly. I know that sounds cheesy, but there is just nothing like that feeling when you just give someone a little bit of direction or a little bit of advice and they realize that they could do something they didn't realize they could do. And it just gives them this newfound confidence. And I'm just all about making sure people indulge their creativity. And because I always tell people it's never a waste of time doing something creative. You're either going to inspire yourself or someone else. It's a win-win. And so, I think as far as my coaching style, the way it's unique is, well, kind of like just right now, I'm super relaxed, super chill. I'm very non-judgmental. I believe in being a cheerleader because you're not going to get a good performance out of someone if they're walking on pins and needles and they're scared of being judged. So if you let them know that, don't worry, this is your time to play. Don't be afraid of failure. There's no such thing. Just go for it. I'm here to help you get the best performance you can out of yourself. So let loose. This is a safe place. So that's really how I like to make it feel. But I think as far as my coaching style, I started in the theater on stage when I was a little kid. And these weren't just like small school productions, which are amazing as well. You know, those are awesome too. But these were shows that people paid to see. And so I did several shows like that as a child. And then I moved to on camera, did several on camera things, including some things for Lionsgate. But I just always was drawn to the behind the scenes stuff, you know? And so I just noticed that because when I was little, I was like, I want to be a star. I want to be a movie star and all this cool stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, of course, like many of us. But I just kept realizing that, you know, my true love is behind the scenes, writing and directing. And so I started my company, which was just a YouTube channel in 2010. And that's how I got into voice acting, purely by accident, because I was making these shows. I needed voices for my characters. I was the only person around. So I was like, okay, voice acting, let's do this. And I developed a love for it. And then in 2015, I started pursuing it professionally. The first thing I ever did was, oddly enough, an audio drama called Ties of Fate. And I just loved it. And then I moved into some radio work, commercials, podcasting.
Yeah.
And I just kind of looked up and realized, you know, I've got a lot of experience on stage, on camera, behind the scenes, behind a microphone. I think that I could offer a lot of insight and guidance to some people and help save them some hurdles that I had to figure out on my own. So yeah, I think that's kind of something unique I bring to the table is I'm not just a director or I'm not just experienced in voice acting. Like you guys understand, I'm kind of a Jack or Jill of all trades. And so I take that into my coaching. If like there's a lot of directors who are really talented, but they aren't an actor. And so they know what they're looking for, but they won't know they've got it until they see it. It's like, aha, take 200. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, they don't know how to ask for it or how to like get you in the right track.
Yeah, exactly. And so sometimes it takes a long time to get there. But because I've been on both sides, you know, in front of the camera, behind it, I can tell that actor, okay, this is what you need to do to get there. And we're able to get it in half the time. So I think that does help my coaching from a writing standpoint, directing, acting, all those different hats I've worn really come in handy.
Okay, wow. So that kind of gives me a fuller picture of kind of where you're coming from as a creative, because I'm always interested in hearing people's creative journey, because everybody has such different ones. There's so many different ways to get into the arts, so many different pathways that could lead you to different places. And you really never know just from seeing someone's work, you know, how that pathway was and that journey was for them. It's usually not obvious. And I find I'm always very surprised to hear the sheer variety of ways that people enter the industry and the arts. And so, so like knowing that you started in theater, you know, and came up from like an acting background. So like I'm assuming that was kind of your foundational training of just like knowing your craft and how to use your vocal instrument. And so I assume there's a lot of technical craftsmanship that you built up from that. We talk a lot on the show about narrative literacy and like just having language for how to communicate ideas and narrative concepts. And, you know, it sounds like what you're kind of talking about is like having basically acting narrative literacy, and how some directors don't necessarily have that, don't know how to communicate to actors essentially in their own language, right? Of how you can get the performance that you're wanting out of them. So it sounds like a lot of what you're doing is kind of facilitating that communication of kind of teaching actors how to work with directors and vice versa, in terms of having a shared narrative language that they can use to arrive at a point that makes everyone happy.
Yeah, it's very helpful, especially when you're working with perfectionists, as many creatives are. Some people are hardcore perfectionists. They're like, okay, I think that was good, but I've got another 2,000 takes in me. Let's do it. And I'm like, no, you nailed it. This is exactly what we need. And so, yeah, I love taking the guessing work out of acting. And so I think that's a big key is setting, kind of just making a little tool set for people when they're struggling or they don't really know how to get the most out of a line. They have those tried and true tools and techniques that I've shared with them to fall back on. They're like, okay, if I sprinkle this on top of it, it's going to sound good. That's another thing I believe in, because sometimes people are teaching, like become the character, feel those emotions, cry on command. And of course, that is splendid. If you can cry on command, you go for it. But it's just a fact of life. You're not going to feel it every day. You're going to go in that recording booth and you want to give it your best, but you're just not in the mood and it's not coming out the best it can. So I believe that's where acting technique saves the day. For the days you don't have those feelings coming to the surface, your acting technique will make it sound like you care, and it will still give a solid performance regardless. So mix that and passion together and you've got a winning combo.
Absolutely.
I guess kind of defines a lot of that difference between and what difference craft makes, because like you said, you won't always have access to 100% of your resources, even if just physically.
That's true.
So it's your craft has to make up that difference, and it's going to be there are times where it's going to be purely technical, and you're not gonna be able to feel it.
Yeah, especially if you do this for a living, and you have no choice but to, work and output creativity, even when you aren't feeling creative. So that's when it really helps to know your craft well. And so that's the skills I like to instill in people. Yeah. So they're ready to go out into the wild and they're not, intimidated. They know their craft and they know what to fall back on.
I was just talking with a friend of mine a little bit ago. I think Raph, you and I have had this conversation as well. I was like, what is the actual job of an actor? Like, what are you bringing to, essentially a production, you are creating a product. What does the actor do? And a lot of people who are actors or who either are or aren't actors will think, oh, you're there to fill the role, you say the lines, and that's your job. Not necessarily. You're not just going to say the lines. Your job as an actor, as a cog in the machine, is to make the scene work by any means necessary. If it's not just saying the lines, it's making the scene work, adding the emotion to it, and all this other stuff. And that's work for an actor. Adding that emotional depth, adding that, like you said, a little bit of that sprinkle of technique on top. That's the job of the actor, is to have a toolbox of techniques and little things that they can draw on that just work and can make a scene work and will slot into the director's vision.
Exactly. It's a trade, basically. It's just like an artist. If you commission an artist, that they've got their certain pens and their certain paints. They have their tools and they know how to use them. It's the same thing with acting or any other, creative endeavor. So definitely everyone should know their craft well in their own way. To go along with your point, Lauren, what is an actor's job? That's a deep question. And I do think a big part of an actor's job is just to remind themselves that at the end of the day, they are a storyteller. It's kind of similar to what a director is and what a writer is. It's all storytelling. And so, I know a lot of people say an actor is a professional liar, and I'm like, no, that is not true. You are a storyteller. I mean, that is one of the oldest things in human civilization is, stimulating our imaginations. And for a temporary time, going off into a world of make-believe. I think it's a beautiful thing. And that's what acting is storytelling. So it's a good thing to remind yourself of as an actor. That's a lot of power that you hold.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, you're singing my song. I love that.
Raph.
It's a conversation we have often. We come back to often because it feels like there's a lot of misconception around acting as well. I mean, I feel like a lot of creatives who might have a solid grasp around writing or producing or directing or any other part of the creative process. Like acting sometimes feels like it's an ephemeral thing to a lot of them. And it's like, yeah, what is, and helping to define like what is an actor's job? What is their role in a broader storytelling team? Because yeah, a lot of people don't realize how much of storytellers actors are, as you said. It's a tremendous power that they have, because in the end of the day, like you can, write the narrative and the words, but it's the actor's job to bring it to life. And so it kind of doesn't exist without them, like the actual storytelling that you're even intending from what you write doesn't really exist without them. And so like I often think about how oftentimes actors themselves, especially if they're fairly new to the craft, can often sell themselves short unintentionally in how they choose to define what their job is. Because especially if you're, like I said, if you're dealing with newer actors or, at a relatively amateur level, like you oftentimes it feels like a lot of them believe that their job, at least in the voiceover world, is to like deliver an audio file. You know what I mean? And and it's just like, sometimes it frustrates me, because that's just like, especially when you're like trying to recruit people, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna do live sessions, live directed sessions for this.
No, it's okay. I'll just do it.
It's okay. I'll just do it and just deliver the voice file. It's just like, well,
that's not what I asked for. One.
Yeah. That's not what I asked for. Just read the breakdown, people. So many.
Read the notes.
Yeah, so many needless emails could be avoided if people just read their breakdowns. But yeah, A, that's not what I asked for. And B, like, yeah, like I'm looking for an actor. And for me, an actor isn't someone who just delivers an audio file by the end of the process. An actor's job is to develop the character and to tell the story with me. And I'm looking for a collaborator, someone who can be a co-storyteller on this. And it can be difficult to find sometimes, surprisingly, because again, I feel like sometimes when actors are first starting out, a lot of them can kind of sell themselves short in that way.
I can tell you're an amazing director, by the way. I can just tell.
Well, I'm flattered.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I always love recording as an ensemble if possible. That's the fun thing about, Cerulean Summer is we record the episodes together as a team.
That's awesome.
That actually
I always
explains a lot.
Yeah, it's important.
I guess organic feeling that it feels like you can't get otherwise. Yeah, and that's something that even like my wife Haley talks about, and I mentioned I think before our recording that she's kind of getting into voiceover, even though she has lots of acting experience in other mediums. And yeah, she talks about that as well, of like the ensemble nature of it is something that she kind of loves about acting, especially coming from her background of musical theater, right? And she just finished like a community theater production recently, and like the camaraderie and energy that she gets out of being a part of a cast and getting to know the people that you're working with is just so much of the joy of the process for her. And that's the thing that she kind of like scares her about voiceover, is because like for a lot of people it is just sitting in a booth alone and and just doing it on your own. It's just like she's like, I don't want that though. Like I want to be directed. I want to have other cast members. And it sounds like your kind of production style like is very much like the dream for people like that who want to be part of a broader kind of community when they're working on something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, whenever you get to record with someone or other actors, it's so nice, because it's true. We do spend a lot of time speaking into the abyss in a hot built-in sauna, aka a vocal booth. So yeah, it's really weird, honestly. Yeah, but that's what makes it all the more enjoyable when you get to record together. And that's why I love doing live direction on auditions a lot of the times when I'm coaching, because, actors record a lot of auditions alone. And sometimes you just need that extra set of ears to bounce ideas off of.
That's
or
actually
say,
really nice.
Yeah. So I think that also helps people build an inner voice when they do have that that person listening to them and helping them with their auditions. So when they are recording alone, they can kind of still hear me saying, yes, that is good. Keep doing that. You know?
Well, that's incredible.
So,
That's
yeah.
amazing. I love that. Well, we're running out of time here. So to kind of wind things down, I think one of my closing questions, I think this is actually something of a curiosity, but I feel like there's profound meaning in there, seeing how intentional you are about your branding. Is what on earth does the MLA stand for? And like I said, it's mostly a curiosity question, but I have a feeling it's a good question to close on.
Oh, the greatest mystery. Yes. Not many people ask me what it stands for, oddly enough.
Really?
Yeah, so I think this is an exclusive on your
Ooh.
show. Another exclusive. MLA stands for Make Life Art. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I knew that'd be a good
yeah.
good closing question. That is
Yes,
beautiful.
that's what it
life
means.
art.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'll have to mull over
Yeah.
that one for a bit. Well, Keiko, thank you very much for coming and potting with us. And we'll look forward to the release of Cerulean Summer later this month.
It's been a pleasure. I had so much fun talking with both of you.
100%. Where can the people find you? And where can people listen to Cerulean Summer once it releases?
Yeah, so Cerulean Summer will be available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. A visual version will be on YouTube. So all the main places you love to listen to your podcasts. And so look for it there on September 25th. And as far as if you're interested in coaching and things like that, then you can reach me. You can look up information at mlaentertainment.card.co. You can also email us at mlaentertainment.info@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter or X, whatever you choose to call it. And that's at MLA_ENT. So yeah, it's like we won't open that box. So, but yeah, you can look for me there. I'm always happy to work with new people or just have a chat.
Amazing. Well, this has been an incredible conversation. I very much enjoyed this. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you all very much for listening. This has been the Hypercube Podcast. Our guest for this episode was Keiko of MLA Entertainment. The show is edited and mixed by Raphael Pacheco, with original theme music by Mono Memory. Until next time, we'll see y'all later. God bless.